Thank you, Mr. Mr. Bishop. Recognize Mrs. Hinson now for any questions you may have.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Thank you, Commissioner, for being before us today to discuss your budget request. As I'm sure you'd agree, based on your testimony, federal agencies, including the IRS, are in the business of customer service, which is crucial that our taxpayers get that high level of support. It should be the top priority. And as you mentioned, millions of Americans are interacting with you through the annual filing season. So it is critical that they are able to receive those timely responses and get the feedback and returns that are rightfully owed to them. As I say to Iowans, it's their money, not the government's money, right? So throughout the past filing season, my team has been hearing from constituents who are concerned they cannot go to their local IRS office in person to pick up their tax forms or filing instructions. And I think a lot of that is due to in-person work challenges. And you noted in a House Ways and Means hearing earlier this year, roughly 50% of IRS personnel are in the office at any given time. So do you believe that this is still the case, that it's about half? And how are you tracking how many employees are currently in their offices to do those services, like you mentioned, pop-up offices as well?
Yeah, so there's tens of thousands of IRS employees that are always on site. These are people that are, for example, managing the paper that's coming in and doing submission processing, but it's also our employees in our walk-in centers. There is no remote work in any of our walk-in centers around the country. We have, since the start of the Inflation Reduction Act, reopened or opened more than 50 walk-in centers around the country. They're virtually—
Are those being staffed every day, though?
Fully staffed every day. Here's the challenge that we see. We move to an appointment schedule during the week, and we have more taxpayers coming than we can handle in a lot of cases because everyone else has an appointment. So we started opening Saturday hours, and that's not by appointment. And sometimes, and a given walk-in center can serve about 300 people a day on a Saturday without appointment, but sometimes 400 or 500 people show up. And this is why it's so important that we continue to make sure that we're right-sizing our footprint to meet the demand. So if we can serve 300 people in a city center in Iowa, and 500 people are showing up, that tells me there's more people that are needed, and we need to improve our digital solutions as well. But in the walk-in centers, those are no one works from home, and they are fully staffed right now.
Well, I would just urge you to continue to keep an eye on that, because if that demand exists, we need to be responsive to that, number one.
Absolutely.
Because I get a district report every single week from my casework team, and it's never less than 2 to 1 in terms of agency interactions. IRS is number one that our casework team has to deal with. So when I look at reports out from GAO, 61% of IRS responses to mailed taxpayer inquiries were considered late. I'd like to see that number improve. That's up from 55% in the previous filing season. So I guess, what are you doing on the staff front when you mentioned these tens of thousands of employees that are in the office? What are you doing to speed up that correspondence and make sure that's timely?
Yeah, so if you look at our filing season, I look at it as a balanced scorecard. There were places where we exceeded our goals and did terrific. For example, our 1-800-1040 line, we exceeded almost all of our goals. But there are other parts of the IRS operations where we were below goal, and we have more work to do. One of them I mentioned earlier is our response to those that have been victimized by identity theft. The line is too long. People are waiting too long to get their issues resolved. And there are certain correspondences or activities that are not going in the right direction in terms of timeliness. So what we'll do, and what we're doing now that filing season is done, is we're looking at that balanced scorecard, and I'm requiring the team to incrementally improve all the metrics where we fell behind. So I'm always going to be transparent. Like, we had a great filing season, but it wasn't perfect. And when it's not perfect, that is impacting a taxpayer. That means a taxpayer couldn't get through or got something late, and that matters to us. I don't know that we can ever be perfect. That would be unrealistic. But we're going to continue to perfect our process and not rest. I like to say there's no victory laps here. We had a good filing season, a strong filing season. We need to build on it, but we also have to close gaps.
Yeah, no, I certainly understand that. And closing gaps, you mentioned your phone wait times are down significantly, but we're still hearing reports from people who are waiting for 45 minutes. And so if you're calculating that average by including people who hang up, of course that number is going to be lower.
No, I can explain that, actually.
45 minutes is way too long to wait. Nobody has that much time.
And I can explain that, which is our main line, our 1040 line. almost 90% of every call the IRS gets comes through that phone line. So we really focused on that. That is the line that has a 3-minute wait. That is a line that we had the best level of service we've ever had this year in terms of us successfully answering those calls and those questions. The remaining 10% are the other call lines that we have. We have to do better. If you hear someone that had a 45-minute wait, guaranteed that is in one of those other call lines in the remaining 10%. We got to close those gaps.
Absolutely. Well, I look forward to following up with you on that. Thank you very much, Commissioner. I yield back.